The Vostok, a Russian watch. It's the worst watch that you might want to own. So I look at these watches, sort of like a novelty watch, just like a watch like this, which costs maybe $1. This is a watch that was recommended by many horologists, or those that are interested in time and timepieces and watches. They recommended this watch as a wonderful, fine timepiece, which it is not. I have 3 of these. 2 I was able to locate, and I play around with these. The other, I care so little about it that I don't even know where it is. Its main feature, I think, is that it's very cheap. Many of these so-called experts, or horologists, talk about how wonderful this watch is and what a great design. They talk specifically at times about the back of this watch, that it has sort of like a metal gasket with something in the center that screws in, this little metal gasket that goes around. Let's see if this autofocus works there. And this supposedly is even better than some other watches that cost a lot more money, because it sort of uses less of whatever engineering features or whatever the heck it does, something special, and it does better things because it's got this gasket ring and it closes it better and takes the pressure off of something because it doesn't just have one piece and whatever. So it is kind of cool with the idea. But as far as a diving watch, which these aren't supposed to be, but I actually bought a diving watch, it doesn't really function the way it's supposed to at all. So I'm talking about this diving watch, which I don't have here. All I can say is that it immediately had some condensation inside it. So the other thing about that diving watch, which actually I don't have here, but I'm gonna find it. Maybe I'll do a little video on that. But it has times like this where you could supposedly use it for your dive times, but there's nothing that stops it from moving. So if you're going to dive with the watch and you're watching your minutes, you hit it and it just moves, and next thing you know, you don't know how much air you have and you end up airless. But that's the other watch. Let's talk about these 2 watches. It has some kind of a plastic covering here, crystal, that immediately gets scratched. Comes with a really cheap leather band, which a lot of these watch people love to replace. They're always into replacing with something they call a NATO strap or some kind of cloth strap. I just left it on. I had it delivered in this box. One of them was in this box. It came with a nice piece of Russian chocolate, which I actually ate. I was always concerned that maybe it was from the Chernobyl chocolate factory where the radioactivity was from. But I ate it anyway and turned out the lights to see if I was glowing, and it didn't seem like I was. Speaking of glowing, I think it does have some kind of phosphorescent dial, and that comes to what I like about this worst watch, the dial in the picture. It's kind of like a novelty. So this is the worst watch that you might want to have. And why would you want to have it? And why did I actually get it? Well, because of this dial. Yeah, because of the dial, because of the picture. This actually moves. Moved it before. And I'll time maybe a run. The only problem with this watch, and this is what makes it one of the worst watches, is it'll stop periodically. Just stop for no reason whatsoever. And I'll have to tap it. Some people even recommend doing that. That's what gets it going again. It's always fast or slow. This one tends to keep time a little bit better, and if you notice, there's a tank on it. See? So it's sort of like a novelty, almost like a Hot Wheels type of watch, where I was just looking at the pictures. So, this watch does not keep accurate time at all. It's a few minutes fast, a few minutes slow, and it stops. But it has a really cool novelty look that's supposed to be some kind of a parachute. And this is supposed to be a tank. Komandarsky or something, it says. It says Vostok, but if you read it, In English, it's Vostok, but I don't read Russian. This watch keeps a little bit better time, but to be honest with you, I always bring another watch along with any of these watches I wear, because these are not accurate. I can't rely on it. You could see all the scratches on that. So this actually turns. It's hard to turn it, but there you go. It actually turns. I don't know why you'd want it to turn. It has no markings, really. I mean, actually, yeah. Okay, so it's got that and that. It really serves just about no purpose. At least this one has some red marks on it. There is one thing that's good about this watch. They are kind of heavy. So it feels like they either put extra iron in there or they have some weight. Oh yeah, there is another thing good about these watches. The worst watches. The hand is almost like a sweep hand. It's not a tick-tock. You see? So that's kind of cool. So yeah, I'm saying some good things about this watch. See? It's not tick-tock, tick-tock. It's more like tick, ticky, 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 right? Yeah. This one goes tick-tock, tick-tock, right? So they made this watch sort of a sweeping hand, which is kind of cool. So they have some good things about this. The watch is too small, also, for me. It's a bit too small. There are groups of people that spend a lot of time replacing these dials, particularly on the diver's watch, which I lost. It's probably someplace. And one guy even called it a beast. It's a beast, which made me think it was some kind of a mythical creature that had to be destroyed, like a dragon, because that was the only beastie thing about it. Maybe he didn't go diving with it, or swimming, or even washing his hands, or going in the shower like I did when it immediately fogged up, so then he could still afford to call it a beast. I guess he meant that in a good way, but it's really not. It's not a beast unless it's a mythical creature that you want to destroy. The worst watch that you would want to have. It's really cheap, comparatively speaking. It's got some weight to it. I should say it has certain features that are interesting. This moves on this particular watch. This, whatever that is. It's colorful and novelty-like, so you can collect them all like Hot Wheel cars. It's heavy. It's got this interesting sort of metal gasket thing that you could just keep telling people how wonderful it is. The wind-up. This is a very odd thing, okay? The wind-up. Everybody points this out who talks about this watch. It's wiggly. See? Some people think it's broken. I've gotten used to this. So you basically just do that. Back and forth, and wind it up. And you don't push it in too far, otherwise it starts changing the time. So you just let it sort of be wiggly. That's the design. They point out how wonderful it is. It does something and protects it somehow. I have no idea. But it just sort of wiggles. See? It just sort of wiggles that crown. Wiggly, 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 wiggle. See? Wiggle back and forth. Okay, the other thing is if you want to change this date, oh man, it's not separately controlled. You have to literally change the time. But there is a hack where I think you only have to go around maybe from like 8 to like 1 and then go back again. And then go 8 to 1, go back again. And then you change the days. But that's kind of annoying. Sometimes I'll just, if I don't wind the watch up, I'll just leave the wrong date. So it turns in, screws in. I have my wonderful horology gloves on, which makes it so you can't really see what I'm doing too well. All right, so there it is. All right, so it's got some weight. It's too small. It's more like a kiddie watch, and you do have to wind it every day. One of the watches, I think it's my diver's watch again, which I don't have. It's supposed to be, quote, automatic, which means just by moving it, it winds. Doesn't work. Got to end up winding it anyway. That's for me, which I think is not so good. But if you want to wind a watch and have something to do, as if you don't have enough things to do with your life, yeah, you could wind this every day. So sometimes I'll just let them go for months at a time. Right now, I put one in one room and one, I think I keep it in the bathroom on the shelf. If I run, I'll maybe run with this one, and it won't matter too much if it stops because I'm only running for like 20, 25 minutes. So, and it's nice to look at. It's kind of heavy. You can kind of bang it around. It does take a little bit of a beating, but that's not saying much because it stops on its own anyway. The Vostok Komandersky. So do I recommend this? Of course not. Oh, but yes I do. But of course not. But yes I do. It's the worst watch that you might want to own because of all the reasons that I gave. You still might want it. But please, you horologists and experts that told me and everybody else that this is really a great watch and all that other stuff, it's not. It's not. So I look at these watches sort of like a novelty watch, just like a watch like this, which costs maybe $1.